Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. We are here to, of course, preview tomorrow's Champions League game between Inter and Real Sociedad. It is the last match of the group stage. And this is how the group looks. Inter and Sociedad both level on points. Kind of a little bit surprising in terms of, in the end, how badly Benfica have done. And actually how Salzburg have done better than Benfica. But, we kind of expected the group to be between Sociedad, Inter. And here it is. Inzaghi and Matteo Darmian just had their press conference earlier today. And of course, they reiterated the importance of trying to finish first. And similar words were echoed by the Real Sociedad coach here, Alguacil, who says, we're not going to do any calculations. We will play to win, fight for first place, respect great for Inter, finalists of the Champions League. They're very strong, have a top squad and a top coach. We are here on our own merits and we will try. And that's definitely what we know about Real Sociedad, isn't it? The first Real Sociedad game, the one we played away in South Sebastian, was probably, I would say, maybe our worst performance of the season. Of course, you can put the Sassuolo loss in there. But just in terms of goal, even chance creation, goals, of course, and they kicked our asses. They really handed our ass to us because they pressed the hell out of us. We couldn't deal with it. We were heavily rotated as well that game. Of course, we had Aslani playing, Pavard early beginnings. Arnautovic, I think, started that game as well. So it was a heavily rotated into team, but no excuse. They did kick our ass in general. So this is a game not to be underestimated. And I think there's a bit of confusion of what I said recently. I definitely want Inter to finish first in this group because that gives you a much better chance in the upcoming knockout rounds to have easier teams like we did last year. So you don't get to face the teams that finish first in the group stage. You face the teams that finish second. So it is important. And we're at home against Real Sociedad. So we should be the favorites and we should be confident that we can do the job. But let's get into a quick match analysis of the opponent. The pressing, though, we talked about it last time when we previewed Sociedad, and we got to preview again because this is really key to the style of play they play. Look how high the defensive line is. You can see at the top of the screen. This is when they're 3-0 up against Villarreal, by the way. Oh no, actually this is the third goal, so they were 2-0 up already in the first half against Villarreal at the weekend. And look how high they press in numbers. There's 5 Sociedad players. You can see, 6 players. You can see the numerical parity, if you don't count the goalkeeper. And the defender here makes a mistake where the ball gets blocked and then they score off this high turnover. And it reminds me of something, guys. What does this situation remind you of? Well, I'm going to show you now what it reminds me of. The exact way that Inter conceded the goal against Sociedad in the first game. In this case, the defender that commits the mistake is Bastoni, who weirdly, like really weird decision making, he kind of picks the ball up quite deep and then tries to run out with it himself rather than pass it. And then he just runs into some traffic, then tries to run wide into more traffic and gets dispossessed. And this is how they score the one goal. Somehow Real Sociedad only scored one goal against. I watched the highlights actually of this game just earlier today. I don't know how we ended up not losing by more than one goal in this game. Jan Sommer also made some big saves, but yeah, they kicked our asses. So this is definitely a mistake that we cannot do. Once again, you can see they're really good pressing teams. They cover the angles really well. They're very well drilled and they're very intense. They don't let you breathe and they have very high line. But because they press so well, you can't really take advantage of the high line because, to take advantage of a high line, you need to put those high balls in behind the defense. But if they're covering the angles quite well and they're pressing so intensely, even if you try to play those balls, they have to be spot on, but also not get blocked by their pressers. And it's proven as well. Like I went on Opta Analyst on the website today, and it shows they are the highest pressing team in La Liga this season at the moment. Real Sociedad 9.3 PPDA. If you don't know what PPDA means, is passes per defensive action. So that means they are the team that allows the fewest number of passes before they undertake a pressing action. So they are ahead of Barcelona and lots of other teams in La Liga, as you can see there. And if you look on the right as well, the number of high turnovers they get from this is really high as well. 26 shot ending high turnovers. So it just shows what a great pressing team they are, and that's something to watch out for. Because Inter, I think Serie A is kind of in a weird place at the moment. There was, especially I think last 2 seasons, there was kind of a trend coming up of teams that pressed higher, but I think that's kind of slowed down a bit. A lot of teams now employ more of a mid to low block press, where they don't. A lot of teams don't sit back, but they don't really go super high up. Like Torino were known to do that, but they don't do that as much now. So I don't think Inter are really used to this type of press as well. So I think it definitely caught us out last time round. Team news wise, there's a big team news for Real Sociedad. The guy who I've highlighted in red, Bryce Mendes, was injured at the weekend. Etienne Capoue broke his arm, literally kicked his arm when he was on the floor, and he should be out for probably at least a month or so. So he's going to be a big miss for them. He scored against us last time round. He's kind of like their midfield marauder. It looks a bit like Bruno Fernandes, if you see what I mean in the face. But he's going to be a big miss for them. Very intense, energetic midfielder. Big miss for them. One of their big players, maybe one of the top 3 players this season. But of course, the threat remains all round. Kubo on the right, we earmarked him last time. We kind of kept him quite quiet last time around, but he still remains a pacey, tricky winger to deal with. Umar Sadiq, the striker up front, actually is in decent form as well. Used to play for Roma, if you guys remember from Serie A times. So Zubimendi, as I've always said, he's kind of one of the best up and coming CDMs, registas in the world. Someone I've earmarked as a potential Hakan successor in the future if we can ever afford him. But that's the team. It's a good team, but it's nothing special this season. They're still doing good in La Liga, but they're not doing as good as they were last year. They're 5th at the moment. They've lost 3 games, drew 5, conceded 18, scored 30. So sorry, that was Barcelona. They scored 29. So they are a good team, but not as good as they were last year. But they're probably they've saved their best performances in the group stages of this competition. They have been very impressive, especially against Benfica. This is a quick few numbers to look out for. You can see one on the left-hand side, fouls per match. They're the most fouling team in La Liga this season, 17.1 fouls per match. So that, talks about, how intense they are. They're pressing. A lot of the times they just end up, rather than like maybe they don't win the ball back, but they just stop your flow by just being so intense, fouling you with their pressing. But they don't stand out in any other, stats. Goals per match, they're 6th. Goals conceded, they're 5th. Average possession, they're 6th. Clean sheets, they're 7th. Expected goals, they're 8th. It's a decent team that's, maybe it's even overperforming slightly with some of the underlying stats. So again, something gives me a bit of confidence that they're not this kind of unbeatable super alien team or anything. And let's move on to Inter on that front. Team news for Inter. This is the predicted lineup as per Sport Media said, but I think also Sky Sport Italia reported the exact same predicted lineup. And Inzaghi did say there will be some rotation. And you can see once again, as much as people, there always a bit of debate in the Inter fan base whether they should focus on Serie A and Champions League or both. I think that this focus is definitely on both, but just a little smidge more towards the league, and you can see it here. I've said it. Inzaghi has hinted to it. Marotta's clearly earmarked that the second star is the priority, and once again with a little bit of rotation, I still think this team should beat Sociedad and can beat Sociedad, but it just shows that the focus is on Serie A, and I agree with that. The main thing that shows is the fact that Lautaro is in here. Lautaro out for Alexis Sanchez, big decision. I personally wouldn't do that. I would start Lautaro. I know he played the full 90 minutes, which I think was a mistake by Inzaghi. He should have rotated Lautaro a little bit in the last game. Sanchez has been the Champions League guy. He was okay against Salzburg, But Sanchez, Thuram front two doesn't really give me too much confidence. But Thuram will definitely have to step up in that case. Thuram is the one that definitely has to play because if you remember the first game when Thuram came on, he made so much impact because that high line, Sociedad, you're going to need pace in behind. So definitely Marcus Thuram, and with his hold-up play, which is really, really good this season, Thuram is going to be very, very important in the absence of Lautaro if this is how Inzaghi goes ahead. We need Sanchez to step up for sure. Elsewhere, Carlos Augusto coming in for Bastoni, which is kind of surprising because I thought with Bastoni having the 55 or so minutes at the weekend, that to me was kind of an indication that next game he would be able to start. But maybe Inzaghi's kind of doesn't want to risk him too quickly. But I'm not too angry with the Carlos Augusto. He showed he can do a job there against Napoli, and I think he can do a job here, and like especially against if Kubo is going to be the one drifting out on that wing for sure, I think he's going to help Di Marco a lot defensively. So I'm not too against that. And Darmian coming in with Cuadrado here. I mean, here, this is one that there's a bit of difference in some of the predicted lineups. Some say that Bisek might continue a right centre back and Darmian continue a right wing back because Cuadrado just doesn't have the minutes in his legs. I doubt he'd even can do complete a half, to be honest, Cuadrado at the moment. Inzaghi once again said that he has pain, still that pain when he plays, which hasn't been fully resolved. So, and Bisek, was one of the best players there against the Udinese. And his second half against Benfica was also very good. So I think, if Bisek does start, I mean, this is the ideal that Darmian plays right centre back and Cuadrado comes in the right wing back. But if Cuadrado isn't fit, to be honest, I would just continue with what we did against Udinese with right centre back Bisek and Darmian. But Bisek, he will definitely be more challenged defensively this time around if he does start because Udinese did not. It's risky, but I wouldn't be against giving Bisek a chance here. And then Frattesi should be coming in. And Inzaghi also talks about this. He didn't play any minutes against Udinese, but he hinted that he probably will be starting this game, and he should be. He deserves it, and he's been another one who's been a Champions League guy for us this year. Augusto, Frattesi, Sanchez. They've started a lot of the Champions League games, and elsewhere midfield is the same. So yeah, as I said, to me, that's a pretty good lineup. That's good enough to beat this Sociedad team. Again, good Sociedad team. Serves 4-4-2 here, but it's more like a 4-3-3/4-2-3-1, really, because Kubo is definitely not a striker. He will drift out wide. We are, of course, missing De Vrij and Dumfries and Pavard. But Pavard also, Inzaghi confirmed that he will be back for the next game against Lazio. So, yeah, all in all, if this lineup, I think it will need Lautaro to come on in the second half to save our ass. But I think we can get a narrow victory in this one. I don't see us keeping a clean sheet. I think a 2-1 victory will be secured in the second half. I think we'll struggle in the first half. We might go in at halftime with a 1-0 down or 1-1. And then Lautaro comes on in the second half to change things around. Nicolo Barella, and we've got a good bench to come on and change things around. You guys let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. What do you mean? What do you think of this Inzaghi rotation? Is it too heavy? Would you change some few things? Let me know which things you would change. Let me know your prediction down in the comments down below. See you for the post-match reaction tomorrow. Ciao ragazzi. Forza Inter.